Okay, so you captured some new construction business, and now we're going to talk about how to execute and how to sell new construction homes or condos for your clients. One thing to consider is this. There's not one magic bullet that sells homes or sells new construction homes. It's just doing a series of small things, many of them, over and over again consistently. One thing to consider is this. Some of the tactics you're going to use to sell new construction homes are very tangible. The developer can see them, you can see them, the marketplace can see them. They're very visible, and developers love that. Sellers in general love that because they can point to that and say, okay, my realtor's working. Here's what he's doing. Other things are intangible. And ironically, the intangible stuff, the stuff that it's really hard to articulate and show to the client, is really the stuff that sells the properties. And the tangible things are a little less important, but you have to do them so you can show the seller that things are happening. For example, signage on a development, open houses to some degree, broker parties, realtor parties, flyers, brochures. Those things never sell a home. Okay, I can sell as many homes without them as I can with them. However, you can show the client that things are happening by showing them some of these tangible items. Some of the intangible actions you need to do are going into showing time or whatever showing software you use and going through and look at every agent who's ever shown a home in the neighborhood you're selling your development in, or every agent who's ever sold in that price point in the last few months, and reaching out to those agents consistently with the same message to let them know that you have a project for sale. You know that they were just out last month showing a client in this price point, showing a client in this neighborhood, and you think that this development may be a good match for that agent. Now that doesn't happen with one phone call. You need to have a consistent follow-up strategy in place to reach all of these people over and over again, and a lot of sales will come from that tactic alone. One of the other intangible actions you can take, which the developer might not see you doing, is as you're out there showing homes and meeting clients at properties, making a mental Rolodex of who these people are, who their agents are, keeping them organized on paper or in a file, and doing the same thing, reaching out to these folks regularly to see if they've bought yet, to see if they want to circle back to the project, to see it now that it's sheetrocked, or to see it now that the finishes have gone in, or to see it now that the home is done, because when they saw it, it was a hole in the earth or a bunch of wood framed. So organizing that database of realtors and that database of clients who are looking in that price point, looking in that neighborhood, and not losing track of them is key. Another intangible strategy is inventory control. Doing this for a couple of decades, I've learned a lot of tricks of the trade, and I learned what works. What doesn't work is taking a 10-home development and plopping all 10 addresses into the MLS. You get very little effect from that. You don't get your bang for your buck. You need to apply a strategy where you maximize the eyeballs on the addresses over and over again. So when you list a property in the MLS, it auto-populates to all the big search engines, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, 50 others. So you put an address in, it pops up on everyone's searches, pops up in their queue, whether it's going directly from the MLS through their broker to them or from Zillow directly to them. The point is, there's an effect. There's a wave of action that happens when you put a property into the MLS. So don't put all 10 in, put one in at a time. Get the eyeballs on the first listing. Take the first round of phone calls, take the first round of activity, and squeeze every drop out of it. As the activity and the enthusiasm wanes a bit, you put a second address in. Start the cycle over again. Get a whole new set of eyeballs on the development. Get a whole new set of realtors and agents looking at it, and run with it and do that. And you'll know by the amount of showings and the amount of emails and the amount of contacts you get if the activity is at a peak or if it's at a lull. and it's more art than science, I would say. So you'll gauge activity, you'll gauge interest, you'll gauge the number of showings, phone calls, and emails, and you'll start to get a good feel of when you should add more units into the MLS.